between Russia and the U.S., Australia has said it is suspending all air operations over Syria as a precautionary measure. It's unclear how long this measure will last, but it comes as a major blow to the U.S.-led coalition. Australia says it, however, will continue to be a part of coalition operations in Iraq. And to discuss all these developments further, I'm now joined by Matthew RJ Brodsky, a Middle East and geopolitical analyst for Wikistrat. Matthew, thank you so much for being with us. Pleasure having you again.
Sure.
Now, first of all, let's start off with this latest move by Australia. We're hearing Australia has said as a precautionary measure, it's taking this Russian threat quite literally and pulling its planes out of Syrian airspace. What does this mean for the coalition?
Well, one would shudder to think if the United States reacted that way during the Cold War with Russia to a threat. However, that said, from Australia's perspective, sure, they'll take some time to figure it out, and then they'll get back in with the United States. Australia has been a very good ally to the United States and has always been a great member of any coalition the United States has been in, especially in the Middle East during difficult times. So I expect that to change recently, but it does definitely go to show how spooked some of the coalition partners are over the dust-up with Russia.
Certainly, and speaking of this dust-up, as you said, with Russia, the last time that Russia closed the emergency communication line with the U.S. was following April's deadly chemical attack, and we know that it was reopened shortly after. We have yet to hear if this will happen again, when they'll reopen that communication line. Does that signify that maybe this is a more serious incident?
Well, I mean, certainly from Russia's perspective, they're going to have to make it seem like it's a more serious incident. I wouldn't be surprised if those lines are open very soon. If not, they could be already, who knows? But it's going to happen. It's not in Russia or the United States' interest to get into a larger war between those two nations over Syria. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be complications when it comes to specifically Iran, and that's the tricky part for the United States going forward. The United States is going to have to deal with Iran, not just the Islamic State, as they're currently doing, and with their base in the south near Tanf and the border crossing, they're going to have to deal and push back with Iran, which all means in the end, the United States and Russia are going to have a discussion over what the future looks like, and specifically in what way can they possibly peel away Iran from Russia.
And looking beyond Iran, another challenge facing both Russia and the U.S. in Syria is the Islamic State. Now, both countries claim that they are fighting the Islamic State, and at times blaming the other, saying that they're helping terrorists. What does this mean for after the Islamic State is removed? If this coalition fight in Raqqa and in Mosul is successful, what next? How do they divvy up Syria?
Well, okay, first of all, Russia has not been fighting ISIS. They may do some token gestures, military gestures in that way, in that regard, but they very much are not doing that. What they've been concentrating on is attacking other Free Syrian Army people and other groups that the United States has worked with, and that's been in the north and in the west of the country. Now, as you're talking about Raqqa falling, there's Raqqa from ISIS, that's the capital area, and then you have there's three basically large checkpoints where you're going to get from the border from Iraq into Syria. That's where the mad dash is now, as ISIS gets pushed back, as you point out. Everyone's going to try to fill in that area, and that will be a major factor going forward, tilting the balance of power in the region. So the United States is going to have to find a way to make sure that Raqqa stays in the Sunni hands. They're going to have to take care of Tanf, where they are, and that's where the drone was shot down, and they've been having issues over there. And then there's Qim and the area in the Euphrates River Valley leading up there. Those are the three main highways to create a Shia land bridge that Iran is trying to do. It's in the United States' interest to see that does not happen.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for that analysis. As you said, quite the challenge ahead for the U.S. Thank you again for joining us. An interesting story giving a new